There you
There,
go.
now it is.
Okay, thank you, Elke.
You're welcome.
Welcome to Astrology Unplugged. I just did a bunch of talking, and it didn't get recorded, so here we are. Tonight is the show where the Holy Spirit takes over. I did a chart for the moment that we did our first class. Let's review the chart of Astrology Unplugged, which is an entity which this chart will live forever. And this is the chart. I'll get it on your screen. This is the chart. I told you there'd be all kinds of disruptions, and they're going to be. I still can't get it on the screen. Okay, I still can't get it on the screen. The ego is going to fight me left and right, and I'm just going to slow down and pave the way here. So, in August 18th, which was the day I moved to Pittsburgh, the anniversary 13 years after I moved to Pittsburgh is the day this class started. This class is a Leo class. Now, what's unique about this chart is there's the big T-square to Mars, Saturn in the 9th house. There's a lot of Virgo energy. There's Neptune rising with the moon. A lot of feminine energy is very good. But what I want you to notice is this. I've been watching for months, knowing that my needle, for me personally, after 40 years is going to become less of an astrology teacher and more of a spiritual teacher. And as I said, it wasn't recorded, Jesus wants all of us, through the Course in Miracles, Jesus wants all of us to be teachers. Because as you teach, you learn. So, the Course in Miracles is really a book about developing trust between you and him. It's not about a whole group, it's not a religion. But anyhow, Reverend Kim is with us tonight. Kim Wilson down in Texas. She will be one of my visitors, guests in the future. She and I just completed a 10-week course in A Course of Love, which is related. It's another channeled work by Jesus, this one being more about emotion as opposed to the intellect. Nevertheless, during the time that I've been doing this class, I've told you week after week, I let the Holy Spirit decide what the subject's going to be. Well, in this chart, which is from 2016, Neptune is at 1101, opposite Venus at 16. That's 5 degrees of difference. That means 5 degrees of difference means that this class is going to be inputting the grace of God right from Neptune right to Venus, which is how we get along. So it's indicative of a spiritual group that has a lot to say to each other about spirit. And I felt it, and I felt it, and I kept talking about it. And take a look at this. This is tonight's chart on the outside with this as the inside. All right. Now you see the planets right now, and this is the birth chart. Neptune is at 1625 now. Venus is at 1625. Precise, to the minute. Now, that's the Holy Spirit taking over, if you're ready for it. Neptune is such a planet, as Pluto, that they're so powerful they don't have to hit exactly, like Uranus hits exactly. Oftentimes, things happen when the big planets Neptune and Pluto hit at that minute. A lot of times it doesn't, a couple weeks later, a couple weeks before, because they're massive collective energies. But Neptune is hitting Venus exact tonight. And I just finished last night my second pass of Nick Aronde's book called Let Go and Let God. Here's this Virgo teaching you to let go and don't do anything. Don't do anything. A Virgo's saying that. And he's telling you through the book, he's a tremendous teacher of the Course in Miracles. He's teaching you to let go and quit planning. Hey, what's your 1-year plan? What's your 5-year plan? Huh, Kim? You can't plan because you're not the doer. You can sit there and argue with each other and go, I'm getting out of the room. Go ahead and argue. because it's going to happen anyway, no matter what you say. And that's what Nick keeps talking about. So what has happened is I eventually have given way to what's been in control all along. I know Manifa, and the Holy Spirit is in charge. So, as I was planning this, who writes to me on Facebook but Nook Sanchez? Nook is one of the greatest writers in the world on the Course in Miracles. She's an absolute master genius. She's written books, Take Me to Truth. She's doing a trilogy now on the end of death. She's finishing book 2 now. So I'm in the middle of this, and Nook writes to me, which I'm not surprised by, because I'm just watching the show. What was the last page in Be Here Now? In the great book by Ram Dass, the final page of Ram Dass's book is, you're on a bridge watching your life go by. You can't do anything because there is no you. You're just watching it unfold. You can watch it like this, or you can watch it like that. It's really that simple. That's your free will. So Nook says, out of nowhere, I talked to her and I told her HS was taking over the show. And Nook replied, ha ha. She says, thank you for coming back into vertical alignment. She's a really advanced genius. More consistent with your holy self. This is a great stage where he uses your gifts, skills, and abilities to forward the great awakening. Even more so. But you had to give him permission to take it all the way. And I think, just like we've all said, Elke said, Karen has said, we go on, we go off, we get with it, we follow up. We're all doing that. You just got to keep doing it until one day it just takes over. And she says, it feels like this is what you're doing now. I know it's what's happening. And I know that's why we're having technical difficulties tonight, because my ego doesn't like it. I'm going to die. Rick's not going to have me in charge anymore. Goodbye. So, what triggered a lot of this week is I remembered a movie, a short 20-minute clip on YouTube by a woman named Jill Bolte Taylor. Jill is a neuroanatomist. She had a brain tumor and a stroke in the year of 1996. It took her 8 years to recover. She has a marvelous book out called A Stroke of what?
Genius.
What, Martha?
My Stroke of Genius.
Yeah, thank you.
Genius.
My Stroke of Genius. Okay, well, here she is. I'm going to play her 20-minute video. As she starts, she just talked about she got into this field because her brother was schizophrenic, and she was trying to learn more about the brain. She is a Taurus. I looked up the planets and saw where the planets during the stroke happened. They were surprising. But here is Jill Bolte Taylor doing one of her TED Talks. So let me get it all started up here. And let's see how we do. I'm going to minimize this, and minimize this, and minimize this, and do all this work and get okay, here we go. I'm coming back. I'm going to get it. See what I said about tonight? There she is talking. I got to get this turned over to her.
I grew up to study the brain because I have a brother who has been diagnosed with a brain disorder, schizophrenia. And as a sister and later as a scientist, I wanted to understand, why is it that I can take my dreams, I can connect them to my reality, and I can make my dreams come true? What is it about my brother's brain and his schizophrenia that he cannot connect his dreams to a common and shared reality, so they instead become delusion? So I dedicated my career to research into the severe mental illnesses, and I moved from my home state of Indiana to Boston, where I was working in the lab of Dr. Francine Bennis in the Harvard Department of Psychiatry. And in the lab, we were asking the question, what are the biological differences between the brains of individuals who would be diagnosed as normal control as compared with the brains of individuals diagnosed with schizophrenia, schizoaffective, or bipolar disorder? So we were essentially mapping the microcircuitry of the brain, which cells are communicating with which cells, with which chemicals, and then in what quantities of those chemicals. So there was a lot of meaning in my life because I was performing this type of research during the day, but then in the evenings and on the weekends, I traveled as an advocate for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. But on the morning of December 10, 1996, I woke up to discover that I had a brain disorder of my own. A blood vessel exploded in the left half of my brain. And in the course of 4 hours, I watched my brain completely deteriorate in its ability to process all information. On the morning of the hemorrhage, I could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of my life. I essentially became an infant in a woman's body. If you've ever seen a human brain, it's obvious that the two hemispheres are completely separate from one another. And I have brought for you a real human brain. Thank you. So this is a real human brain. This is the front of the brain, the back of the brain with the spinal cord hanging down. And this is how it would be positioned inside of my head. And when you look at the brain, it's obvious that the two cerebral cortices are completely separate from one another. For those of you who understand computers, our right hemisphere functions like a parallel processor, while our left hemisphere functions like a serial processor. The two hemispheres do communicate with one another through the corpus callosum, which is made up of some 300 million axonal fibers. But other than that, the two hemispheres are completely separate. Because they process information differently, each of our hemispheres think about different things, they care about different things, and dare I say, they have very different personalities. Excuse me. Thank you. It's been a joy. Our right human hemisphere is all about this present moment. It's all about right here, right now. Our right hemisphere, it thinks in pictures, and it learns kinesthetically through the movement of our bodies. Information in the form of energy streams in simultaneously through all of our sensory systems, and then it explodes into this enormous collage of what this present moment looks like, what this present moment smells like and tastes like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like. I am an energy being connected to the energy all around me through the consciousness of my right hemisphere. We are energy beings connected to one another through the consciousness of our right hemispheres as one human family. And right here, right now, we are brothers and sisters on this planet, here to make the world a better place. And in this moment, we are perfect, we are whole, and we are beautiful. My left hemisphere, our left hemisphere, is a very different place. Our left hemisphere thinks linearly and methodically. Our left hemisphere is all about the past, and it's all about the future. Our left hemisphere is designed to take that enormous collage of the present moment and start picking out details, and more details about those details. It then categorizes and organizes all that information, associates it with everything in the past we've ever learned, and projects into the future all of our possibilities. And our left hemisphere thinks in language. It's that ongoing brain chatter that connects me and my internal world to my external world. It's that little voice that says to me, hey, you got to remember to pick up bananas on your way home. I need them in the morning. It's that calculating intelligence that reminds me when I have to do my laundry. But perhaps most important, it's that little voice that says to me, I am. And as soon as my left hemisphere says to me, I am, I become separate. I become a single, solid individual, separate from the energy flow around me and separate from you. And this is the portion of my brain that I lost on the morning of my stroke. On the morning of the stroke, I woke up to a pounding pain behind my left eye. And it was the kind of pain, caustic pain, that you get when you bite into ice cream. And it just gripped me, and then it released me. And then it just gripped me, and then it released me. And it was very unusual for me to ever experience any kind of pain, so I thought, okay, I'll just start my normal routine. So I got up and I jumped onto my cardio glider, which is a full body, full exercise machine. And I'm jamming away on this thing, and I'm realizing that my hands look like primitive claws grasping onto the bar. And I thought, that's very peculiar. And I looked down at my body and I thought, whoa, I'm a weird looking thing. And it was as though my consciousness had shifted away from my normal perception of reality, where I'm the person on the machine having the experience, to some esoteric space where I'm witnessing myself having this experience. And it was all very peculiar, and my headache was just getting worse. So I get off the machine and I'm walking across my living room floor, and I realize that everything inside of my body has slowed way down. And every step is very rigid and very deliberate. There's no fluidity to my pace, and there's this constriction in my area of perception. So I'm just focused on internal systems. And I'm standing in my bathroom getting ready to step into the shower, and I could actually hear the dialogue inside of my body. I heard a little voice saying, okay, you muscles, you got to contract, and you muscles, you relax. And then I lost my balance, and I'm propped up against the wall. And I looked down at my arm, and I realized that I can no longer define the boundaries of my body. I can't define where I begin and where I end, because the atoms and the molecules of my arm blended with the atoms and molecules of the wall. And all I could detect was this energy. And I'm asking myself, what is wrong with me? What is going on? And in that moment, my brain chatter, my left hemisphere brain chatter, went totally silent. Just like someone took a remote control and pushed the mute button. Total silence. And at first I was shocked to find myself inside of a silent mind. But then I was immediately captivated by the magnificence of the energy around me. And because I could no longer identify the boundaries of my body, I felt enormous and expansive. I felt at one with all the energy that was, and it was beautiful there. And then all of a sudden, my left hemisphere comes back online, and it says to me, hey, we got a problem. We got to get some help. And I'm going, I got a problem. So it's like, okay, I got a problem. But then I immediately drifted right back out into the consciousness. And I affectionately refer to this space as La La Land. But it was beautiful there. Imagine what it would be like to be totally disconnected from your brain chatter that connects you to the external world. So here I am in this space, and my job and any stress related to my job, it was gone. And I felt lighter in my body. And imagine all of the relationships in the external world and any stressors related to any of those, they were gone. And I felt this sense of peacefulness. And imagine what it would feel like to lose 37 years of emotional baggage. Oh, I felt euphoria. Euphoria. It was beautiful there. And then again, my left hemisphere comes online and it says, hey, you've got to pay attention. We've got to get help. And I'm thinking, I got to get help. I got to focus. So I get out of the shower and I'm mechanically dressed and I'm walking around my apartment and I'm thinking, I got to get to work. I got to get to work. Can I drive? Can I drive? And in that moment, my right arm went totally paralyzed by my side. Then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm having a stroke. I'm having a stroke. And then the next thing my brain says to me is, wow, this is so cool. This is so cool. How many brain scientists have the opportunity to study their own brain from the inside out? And then it crosses my mind, but I'm a very busy woman. I don't have time for a stroke. It's like, okay, I can't stop the stroke from happening, so I'll do this for a week or two, and then I'll get back to my routine. Okay, so I got to call help. I got to call work. I couldn't remember the number of work. So I remembered in my office, I had a business card with my number on it. So I go into my business room. I pull out a 3-inch stack of business cards, and I'm looking at the card on top. And even though I could see clearly in my mind's eye what my business card looked like, I couldn't tell if this was my card or not, because all I could see were pixels. And the pixels of the words blended with the pixels of the background and the pixels of the symbols, and I just couldn't tell. And then I would wait for what I call a wave of clarity. And in that moment, I would be able to reattach to normal reality. And I could tell, that's not the card, that's not the card, that's not the card. It took me 45 minutes to get 1 inch down inside of that stack of cards. In the meantime, for 45 minutes, the hemorrhage is getting bigger in my left hemisphere. I do not understand numbers. I do not understand the telephone, but it's the only plan I have. So I take the phone pad and I put it right here. I take the business card, I put it right here, and I'm matching the shape of the squiggles on the card to the shape of the squiggles on the phone pad. But then I would drift back out into la la land and not remember if when I come back if I'd already dialed those numbers. So I had to wield my paralyzed arm like a stump and cover the numbers as I went along and push them so that as I would come back to normal reality, I'd be able to tell, yes, I've already dialed that number. Eventually, the whole number gets dialed, and I'm listening to the phone, and my colleague picks up the phone, and he says to me, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, he sounds like a golden retriever. And so I say to him, clear in my mind, I say to him, this is Jill, I need help. And what comes out of my voice is, woo, woo, woo. And I think, oh my gosh, I sound like a golden retriever. So I didn't know that I couldn't speak or understand language until I tried. So he recognizes that I need help, and he gets me help. And a little while later, I'm riding in an ambulance from one hospital across Boston to Mass General Hospital. And I curl up into a little fetal ball. And just like a balloon with the last bit of air just right out of the balloon, I just felt my energy lift and I felt my spirit surrender. And in that moment, I knew that I was no longer the choreographer of my life, and either the doctors rescue my body and give me a second chance in life, or this was perhaps my moment of transition. When I woke later that afternoon, I was shocked to discover that I was still alive. When I felt my spirit surrender, I said goodbye to my life, and my mind was now suspended between two very opposite planes of reality. Stimulation coming in through my sensory systems felt like pure pain. Light burned my brain like wildfire, and sounds were so loud and chaotic that I could not pick a voice out from the background noise, and I just wanted to escape because I could not identify the position of my body in space. I felt enormous and expansive, like a genie just liberated from her bottle. And my spirit soared free like a great whale gliding through a sea of silent euphoria. Nirvana. I found nirvana. I remember thinking there's no way I would ever be able to squeeze the enormousness of myself back inside this tiny little body. But then I realized, but I'm still alive. I'm still alive, and I have found nirvana. And if I have found nirvana and I'm still alive, then everyone who is alive can find nirvana. And I pictured a world filled with beautiful, peaceful, compassionate, loving people who knew that they could come to this space at any time and that they could purposely choose to step to the right of their left hemispheres and find this peace. And then I realized what a tremendous gift this experience could be. What a stroke of insight this could be to how we live our lives. And it motivated me to recover. 2.5 weeks after the hemorrhage, the surgeons went in and they removed a blood clot the size of a golf ball that was pushing on my language centers. Here I am with my mama, who's a true angel in my life. It took me 8 years to completely recover. So who are we? We are the life force power of the universe with manual dexterity and 2 cognitive minds. And we have the power to choose moment by moment who and how we want to be in the world. Right here, right now, I can step into the consciousness of my right hemisphere where I am the life force power of the universe. I am the life force power of the 50 trillion beautiful molecular geniuses that make up my form, at one with all that is. Or I can choose to step into the consciousness of my left hemisphere, where I become a single individual, a solid, separate from the flow, separate from you. I am Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, intellectual, neuroanatomist. These are the we inside of me. Which would you choose? Which do you choose? And when? I believe that the more time we spend choosing to run the deep inner peace circuitry of our right hemispheres, the more peace we will project into the world, and the more peaceful our planet will be. And I thought that was an idea worth spreading.
Well, what can I say? That was the story. So I learned so much from watching that. And it's obvious to me that that was one of the biggest gifts the Earth's ever got. Because we know we're at the end of the rope. And why are we at the end of the rope as a planet? Because we've been following the left brain. The left brain can't win. The left brain can't even exist. It doesn't exist in the present. It only exists in the past and the future. Therefore, it doesn't exist. We've been following this maniacal left brain, keep hearing hints about the right brain. We keep hearing stories about heaven is within. We keep hearing fanatical hints. We don't really understand, but we're starting to organize now. We're starting to get it straight. Her book was a gift of grace directly to us. I'm going to do the best I can tonight to just sketch out a few things for you. You may want to keep your own notes because it connects to everything. It has changed my life in the last 3 days since I've been into this because I now see the left brain and I've often talked about this, as totally useless. The only thing the left brain's good for is measuring something. Green light means go to the bank, go to the store. But it has no ability whatsoever to make a decision for you, how you're feeling, what you should do, or even what you are. I've often said that our problem is we don't even know what we are. So she goes to the right brain. Look what she reports to you. What all the great artists tell you. What all the great spiritual experience people tell you is in the right brain. She can't see the difference between her arm and what's behind her because she sees nothing but energy. This is not far from an acid trip or psilocybin trip or mescaline. It's all tied together. So I started to realize the following. When you think about your left brain, it's a calculating intelligence. It has a sense of I am, and everything that it does is geared towards separating you. This is why you hear about thou shalt not judge. It's not because judging is the wrong thing to do. It's because the moment you judge, you're separate. And the moment you're separate, everything falls apart. The oneness of the right brain can't be experienced. But our problem is what? It's been turned into this. Thou shalt not judge from daddy up in the sky is going to kick your butt. Thou shalt not judge. It's not the right thing to do is judge. We've taken the biggest mistake we've made is turning religion into behavior. The 10 Commandments. You don't need 10 Commandments. When you're already one, you're not going to go kill somebody. We've turned it all into all this behavior. We think if we behave like Jesus said to behave, we'll end up like Jesus was. But the real problem is putting the left brain in its place. Putting it in its place. And all holy books tell you, of all the great minds, at the end, the left brain, which is also the ego, once the ego relaxes, it gives up because it knows it's going to be enriched by the overflowing bounty of the right brain. The left brain is the ego because the ego is nothing but a concept that you hold about yourself. Well, you can't let them say that about you. Well, that's not who I am. Do you know who you're talking to? It's a concept we have of who we think we are. And we feel, we feel Israel and Palestine has to defend it. And you never win. We see how it's not real, and we see the left brain has its place. It helps her dial the numbers. It helps her get help. But we're talking now about, think about these. I'm going to go through these slowly. Think about the left brain, right brain. Many of you are healers. Many of you have been to healers. Many of you have many experiences with all these different disciplines, okay? Think about yoga. What's yoga doing? It's trying to unify, which mainly means to unify the left brain and the right brain with the body. But it's always geared towards calming the mind down. Why do you calm the mind down? Because the mind doesn't know what it's doing. The right brain does. Because the right brain is where God is speaking through, if I can use those words. I'm not telling you I know where God is, but I know where he isn't. He's not in the left brain where you're trying to figure things out. If I hear one more client use that word figure, I sit there and say, tell me something you figured it out and what did it do for you. I don't know anybody can tell me they figured out anything and what it did for them. All the wonderful things happen to us. They just happen. It came to me. It's all, the language is totally favor of the right brain. So, vision quests. What's the vision quest? What's the labyrinth? You walk, you numb the left side, you get tired of thinking, then you enter into a state of being that you're flowing along with the great flow. That's why you can't make decisions, is because there's only one mind. You can't understand one mind if you're over here worried about your shopping list. This can't happen. And in all these disciplines, same thing. Fasting, trying to purify the mind, breath work. Breath work is a way to get past the mind. What do we got to do to get past this monkey in our mind? This jumping up and down monkey. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. And if you just shut up, we'll have a nice peace at the basis. There's no peaceful lake. You ever gone to a lake that's peaceful? Look under the water, everything's eating itself, eating each other violently. The lake is peaceful and it reflects inside of you. You stop fighting with yourself and you see the peace that's always there. Dr. Kim can tell you all about this. The peace of God, removing the blockages to the love inside, which is the source of Course in Miracles, it's always there. It's just got a yak on top of it. Right, Kim? That's right. Okay. Psychedelics. My God, the people that have reported, I don't know what it was like. It's impossible to describe it, but it was real. And there are all these different theories. You're certainly not in the left brain. Ayahuasca. Psilocybin. A Course in Miracles, A Course of Love. If you don't know much about those, that's why the Reverend Kim's going to be my guest here pretty soon. She's a Reverend of the Course. The Course is about stop trying to do anything and just, it's nothing but forgiveness. The whole Course is about forgiveness. And I really don't like that word because it triggers up the fact that I was a Catholic and everybody should forgive everybody. That's not what it means. Forgiveness just means, in its sense, let everything go. Let it go. You're the left brain. Report what you got to report and then get quiet. Say what you got to say and then be quiet. Don't grab onto something. Buddhism, don't grab it. Don't grab it. Don't get attached to it. Don't grab it. Don't grab it. Don't grab it. What do you see in America? People fanatic. Fanatic. Give me more pills. Give me more pills. Give me more Xanax. I get hyper. And we're running over here. Look at the commercials on TV. The commercials don't even have the dignity anymore to fade to black for a fourth of a second and then fade up a fourth of a second. It cuts directly from some guy stabbing somebody to somebody taking a pill with a smile. We have become so lost. Hello, Michael. It's good to have you with us again. We have become so lost. So what do? Let's go faster. Let's go faster. It'll be better. Let's go faster. We all know it's wrong. We all know it's wrong. We all see these revolutions taking place. So everybody's running to Michael and getting hypnotized so he can make them chill. See? If you behave yourself, this would be our show, week 89, but I had to go out by myself. Good to see you. Okay. So the Course is about removing the blockages to love, and what's uncovered is what's there. The love and the oneness is there. Jesus is describing it, and it's so complex. There's so much to it, but it's really about that. It's about giving up, or what Nick Arondes calls letting go and letting God. Stop planning. He says it sounds easy, but it's tough. Then you go into what's the ultimate thing you can think of? Buddhism. Buddhism is nothing but the relaxing and fading back into the sea of joy, into the sea of nothingness. And it gets very complex. Where am I? Where is it? Where's the one mind? It's not simple, but at least the arrow is pointing the right way. In Buddhism it can be, but in general, it's not like Christianity. We have a list of rules. And Christianity, to me, is largely, I'm in the right club, you're in the wrong one. I'm not buying that either. I think there's one club. Hinduism, oh my God, with all their different gods. Islam, I've studied into Islam too. Islam, I've found out, is largely about obedience. If you would just obey God, you'd be fine. Well, I just don't believe that either, because I don't think our true nature is, I think our true nature is very fluid, it's very Piscean. We're going to talk about astrology later. I'm taking my time because I'm sure a lot of you are really getting your own ideas with the different things you do. Reading poetry, dancing, color therapy, aromatherapy. We do every damn trick in the book, pulling on our ears. Every trick we can to get past the dominating mind to get to the feeling state. The Holy Spirit changed this show tonight. It was not me. You saw Neptune hanging around Venus for a year and a half. Tonight, it's exact. That's no coincidence. When Neptune takes over, you will suffer unless you yield. And we have done yielding. Look at the American Indian. Look at shamanism. And they're heathens, and they see the spirit God in everything that they see, the water and the rocks and the deer, and we sit there and we dare to judge them. And all they ever do is look really happy and normal and don't have wrinkles. And we'll bring you blankets full of disease. Right, Mike? You're damn right. Oh, boy. I tell you what, I've read a lot of Don Juan, and I've read a lot of Carlos Castaneda, and I know it's kind of far out, but I got a lot of respect what these folks are doing with shamanism. It's a hell of a thing. It is powerful. And I think it's another science where you are really trying to transcend the mind. It really seems to me, whether you're studying Gurdjieff or Ouspensky or Blavatsky, it really seems to me the ones that are less like the mind are the ones that are most successful. The ones that got all these theories, you ain't going anywhere because you're so busy trying to fight the theory, right? And if the theory would just fall flat, you would just groove. You would just smooth, make your way right on through. I'm really having a hard time, but I'm trying to find the right words. And I think you got the idea. If not, I'm gonna turn it over to Amy and see if she can find the right words. I'm trying my best here. Look at the whirling dervishes, the Sufis that turn in circles and circles and circles. And us, we go 4 circles and fall down. They just go round and round and round, and they surrender. They surrender, which means they unplug the left brain. They come out of it, they're not even dizzy. That's just like remarkable. Why are they doing it to, what was that other thing going around? Started with M. There was another thing that was like whirling dervishes going around Pittsburgh a couple years ago, I forget. Where you get more in touch with the energy body. Now there's this weird thing, I'll put you on for a second. There's this weird thing called hypnosis. Michael, what's that supposed to be about? You're on the air, Michael. You know what Michael told me? Michael and I we were going to be co-hosts before I took this show on by myself. Michael has been a guest on the show. Michael Weir from Pittsburgh. He's a regression hypnotist. Michael told me that we're all 9-year-olds and we just want to be loved.
This is true. This is true. So
Michael, talk to us about hypnosis.
Okay.
How does it fit into this story?
So before I talk about hypnosis, I want to back up to what you were just talking about, which is quieting the mind. Many people try and quiet the left brain by physically trying to make it quiet through thought. That doesn't work. That just makes it race. So what I found that works for many people is actually learning how, with your inner eyes, to observe your mind. Whether you imagine you're outside yourself looking back, whether you imagine you're inside yourself looking up, whatever it is for you, observe and watch your mind and do not blink with your inner eyes. Stare at your mind and continue to stare at it as you patiently wait for your next thought to come. And as you're patiently waiting for your next thought, I do this with many people every year, and people will say to me, but nothing's happening. And I'll say, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. Very good.
You've reached that place of no mind. It's that easy. The left brain, the conscious mind, cannot be stared at and function. It shuts
Wow.
completely. So I can't remember what movie, because Rick and I have watched so many spiritual movies over the years, I get the titles all mixed up. But I watched one movie, and they had a girl who they had hooked up to this piece of tech hardware that they had her observe things in life. And whatever she was observing, there was an area of the brain that would light up until they had her observe herself. Nothing in the brain lit up. No brain activity whatsoever. Because when we're observing ourself, our ego self, our body, when we're observing this, we are rooted and grounded temporarily in our spirit. And the longer we do that, we can do that all day long. When do we actually got to use our mind? Only really when we got to schedule something.
Across the street.
Do math or some crap like that.
Right.
So when should you be watching your mind? At all other times. And the more you practice watching your mind, just staring at it, the more you will be in that place of no mind, that place of, it's extremely peaceful. There's no stressful thoughts. There's no worry thoughts. You're not rehashing the past. You're not worrying about what's happening next. You're just truly here present.
This was the Gurdjieff. That was the Gurdjieff school of watching the mind.
Yes, exactly.
Amen. Uspensky.
I love Rick. It's my brother from many lifetimes.
From another mother.
Brother from another mother in this one. But that's so powerful. It is so worth doing. And
thank you. That's a really good tool.
Here it is. You can get to the point where you just do that all day.
What do you find, Michael? You're a hypnotist.
Yes.
What do you find? Do you 99%, I'm just assuming, 99.9% of problems are all the fights going on the left side?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because that's the side that we use to rationalize, to judge everything.
Oh, God.
And as we're judging everything, the more things we can find to judge, the more we're trying to escape from usually feelings of guilt that don't belong there in the first place.
Well, I got to move on. I want to ask you one final question here.
Yes, my brother.
Why does judgment not work?
Why does it not work?
Yeah.
Oh, on deepest level, because you're judging. There's no one separate from you, so you're just placing judgment on yourself.
Yep.
Which
judge not,
when you realize you're not guilty to begin with, there's no reason to judge anymore. But until you get to the place where you realize you're not guilty, we continue to judge others.
Yes, Reverend Ken. Michael is a longtime course student. Michael, thank you for chipping in. I really appreciate your 10, 11 cents there. That's good. Thank you.
I love you bunches.
Guess what I have at the end of the list?
What?
Of these techniques.
What?
Primal scream. There was one. Just get in a rubber room and scream your butt off. Ah! Just scream and scream and scream and scream and scream and scream and hope you're dumping out your emotional body. And it's got a tremendous reputation for being dangerous. And why is that, Mike?
Well, one of the things is I've never seen that as being dangerous because for some people, well, for a lot of people, it's a way of moving trapped energy. And there's many, many ways of moving trapped energy that we have. But it's a really good one a lot of times because it's not something that we always do. But, you know, when we do it, when we really scream and we're...
Can I come to your house next week and do that?
Fuck yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. That's okay. Thank you very much, Michael. That was really good. Okay. Now,
I love you, buddy.
Love you too. Now, what we also find on the list is sex and music tones. That's a beautiful thing. I got lost in the music. Maybe it started from last week I told you about. She gets lost when she does her artwork. It's just the right brain. It's just the isness of all isness is doing some painting. There's no person there doing it. But we have to think, oh, we better go grab some of that for us because everybody else has a self. But we really don't have to. And all the great pictures you see of Jesus, he's doing one thing. And I don't mean on the cross. What's the great picture you always see of Jesus? He's going like this. He's saying, here it is. It's all from the Father. He's saying a lot of things with that. It's here. Quit struggling. Here it is. So now, let me move on. Michael, you were such an addition. Okay, so I started to think about some of the major teachers in the world. Eckhart Tolle is one of the big ones, who wrote The Power of Now and The Wonderful New Earth. Tolle's, he's an Aquarian moon in Taurus. He's very laid back, but he went through a really bad breakdown to get to this point. If you watch him now, he's reporting to you from a different place. It is a different being talking to you. If you go watch his videos and he's talking to you, explaining about living in the past or the future, but living now. When you watch David Hawkins, total nervous breakdown, 50 years of psychiatry. Took him years, people watching him, feeding him, trying to help him walk again. So I started thinking about this. Do you have to go through a breakdown, a breakthrough to achieve this cosmic consciousness? Out of nowhere, Nook writes to me. Nook Sanchez. I said, hey, Nook, what do you think? I haven't heard for months. She said, what did she say? Yes. She had one. She's from northeastern Australia. She's now living in the US. She went through an absolute huge nervous breakdown. Her chart is utterly brilliant, but she's born with a sun next to Neptune. And that means you got a self and you got no self. And so it eventually just drove her crazy until she reignited and re-merged those two. And she yielded herself to the bigger self. You're not going to fake out spirit. You're not going to fake it out. You're not going to slip in heaven's gate with your ego. It just ain't going to happen. Because it can't. And you wouldn't want it anyway. So she said, yes, one must have a breakdown or a breakthrough, which shocked me, before experiencing cosmic consciousness, in order to embrace the breakthrough. And then and only then can you welcome love without fear. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have come close to your own. Maybe you've had your own. We know the story of Byron Katie, who's a great teacher now of the work. And now she had a really, really bad nervous breakdown Went on for quite a while. And then one morning she woke up sleeping on the floor, unkept, unclean. She was burned out, falling apart. You have to hit bottom sometimes before you go up. And she was watching a cockroach go across somebody's shoe. And she was in heaven. She was watching the cockroach walk across this person's shoe. But she did what Don Juan was called seeing instead of looking. She saw the pure energy of this thing. She saw the pure beauty. She saw the universe itself crossing that person's shoe. Since then, she's become this incredible teacher. She too took years to recuperate. And she says, I got so much work to do. I don't have time for anything because I'm spending all of my time unlearning. It's all the same stuff. Franz Kafka, same thing. I'm going to get into a lot of people here in a second. Unlearning, which is the left brain junk, the lies we get, the media, the Madison Avenue. Well, I'm a real big follower of David Hawkins, and he recently passed away, and I watch a lot of his videos on YouTube. And I thought he said something pretty wise. He's the one that wrote Power versus Force, and then he wrote about 9 more books on healing and did a lot with kinesiology. He said, you need to just give up and everything will heal itself. So he went into a long series of healing his own body of really some significant diseases. Okay, this is a guy, 50-year psychiatrist, who's healed himself of diabetes and lung cancer and all these other things. And the way he healed himself is he laid on his bed and he refused to categorize anything. You see, once again, what judging does is it wraps a mental loop around something. In other words, oh, my diabetes is acting up. Oh, instead of sensing what's going on in the pancreas, instead of sensing what's going on here, because really what it is, Karen, it's just all screwed up energy. Your energy's going through some way wrong. It's blocked here, whatever. So he cured himself of all these things just by laying down and not categorizing anything. Again, judgment. And what happened then is he returned back to his back to his original state of no blockages, back to his God state, which is already perfect, and his body healed. Now, you can't go back and say, well, how's that cancer doing? I'm going to go into this for a while, counting corpuscles, and I'm peaceful, and la, la, la. How's it doing? You can't do that. And a lot of that is where we're at now. A lot of that is where we're at. And it's beautiful. And Elke Eris knew what she was doing when she popped her head up recently. She came out at the right time, 2003. What does that mean? The planet that has had enough, and we got to get to work, is coming out right at the end when these people still keep shoveling the coal up into the atmosphere, and we're all sitting there like, we're just pushing to the edge. We just keep pushing to the edge. Put a maniac in charge of the White House. Pushing to the edge. Tolle talks about coming into the moment, because it's all there is. The Course talks about the holy instant, which is coming into the moment because that's all that there is. And Nook is insinuating here, until you have that breakdown, you can't come into the moment because you're still busy hanging. Now, I don't know, and I don't want to see anybody raising hands, and I'm sure you've seen people have breakdowns, but just give some thought. You've probably seen some people have breakdowns, and they were actually breakthroughs. So, it brought me to thinking. I remember the book I read in college. It was this fabulous book. The guy's long since passed. His name was Richard Maurice Bucke, B-U-C-K-E. He lived 1837 to 1902. He put out the book called Cosmic Consciousness. And in that book, we find out that he had cosmic consciousness experience at age 36. And he started wondering why, and he lists all these people that had cosmic consciousness experiences around age 36. So I started to parallel with astrology. And astrology, hey, Waldo, I don't know why age 36 is not a big deal astrologically. It's your third Jupiter return, and it's certainly not something that's going to give you a cosmic consciousness experience. But let me read to you what I found out about him. Burke did not presume to place himself in the company of illuminated individuals who lived and that he examined in his book. He did relate in the third-person account of his own experience. It was in the early spring at the beginning of his 36th year, which is like 1760 or so. I'm sorry, 1860, during the Civil War. He and two friends spent the evening reading selections from such poets as William Wordsworth and Percy Shelley and Keats and Robert Browning, with a special emphasis on Walt Whitman. The young men had become so enraptured by their readings that they didn't part until midnight. And Buck faced a long ride home in a horse-drawn, handsome cab. And he recalled that his mind was still deeply under the influence of many inspirational ideas and images and emotions that had been provoked by the reading and discussions during the evening. He was feeling calm and peaceful when, without any warning of any kind, he comes as a thief in the night. He found himself wrapped around as if by flame-colored cloud, and for an instant, he thought of a great fire somewhere in the city. And then he knew that the light was from within himself. These are very common cosmic consciousness. The bush is on fire, Moses. Very common experiences in this book, which is called Cosmic Consciousness, written in 1901. Written in 1901 by Burke. Last name is B-U-R-K-E. And in that book, he shows you these lists. Moses, he shows you John, he shows you the Buddha, Thoreau, Emerson, Thomas More, Eckhart Tolle went through it, Hawkins went through it, Byron Katie went through it, Moses went through it. Just all this long list of people, all around age 36. So, I really recommend that you take a look at that book. Anyhow, so what am I trying to say is be wary of what you're doing, because most people are telling you different methods of moving your chess pieces around the left brain. Go over here and get financing. Oh, well, go over here and get a discount. Well, hurry up and buy this house. You're just moving little chess pieces around the left side. It's not getting you anywhere. It's not getting you anywhere. And the real problem is that I've heard people say, oh, things really haven't been going that well for me, and I think I got to go back to church. Well, I mean, it's really admirable that they think that way, but are you talking about going back to church? I watch these shows. Well, he got settled in a new town, and they found a new church with good people, and they were happy. Okay, that's nice. Bake cookies together and sing songs. That's nice. But when are you going to return home? When are you going to turn the corner? When are you going to speak up about it? That's what's happening. Because that 1965 Uranus-Pluto conjunction that caused the 60s was about returning to spirit within. It was really about that. It manifested in many other ways. It was tested 50 years later in 2015 as to how we're doing. And what's happening in the world now that I see is we have split. We have people who are want to continue this BS, find somebody to blame, and I really think a lot of people want to jump in the back of a pickup truck with a Pepsi or a Schlitz and then want to start shooting people. And the other half doesn't want to do anything like that, and they're trying to see through to the oneness. And you can't blame this half because they don't understand where to go. Because to them, religion is going to church, and going to church is just asking yourself to feel bad again. Where you been, sinner? So that's why we are so important here. We are so important in all these different things I brought up tonight, and all these different things you're into. They're all really efforts to quiet that left brain, to realize, let go and let God. I don't have to make a plan. I don't have to plan Astrology Unplugged. He's taking care of it. And I know a lot of you feel this too, that you get somewhere and after a long struggle, you just got this kind of sneaky suspicion that somebody's been guiding you all along. Right, Mike? All right, I'm going to turn the microphones on. We are going to allow the tape recorder to continue. If you misbehave, I will throw the tape away. You know who I'm talking to. Michael does. Let's hear from a few people your thoughts, and let's try to share the evening here. With what I brought up, I tried to bring up general ideas, and I'm real interested in general, Reverend Kim, your thoughts about this and how this ties to what the lady with the stroke had to say. Kim, what do you think?
I think that's what it is. And you can go there from trips on psychedelics. You could go there, mantra, whirling dervish, whatever it is, that is it. And it comes, whatever it takes to get there, however low you have to go or high you got to go. And then that's all. There's no planning to it. It just takes a life of its own, everything.
And I want to encourage a lot of you that are feeling down, or you've been down for a long time. You're being watched. You're being taken care of. Somebody reached in and took care of Byron Katie. And I think she just cared too much. She didn't know where to put it. She didn't know how to deal with it in this rational world, left brain world. And if you look at her now and you watch her on videos, she ain't touching nothing now. I don't care what your story is, let it go. What's your story? Let it go. You thought your kid hung himself, oh, let it go. She's just all about don't get attached to anything. And her husband is one of the brilliant interpreters of Buddhist language, Buddhist texts. So a lot of people are going towards the Course. A lot of people are going to tell you you're blasphemous. But this is exactly what Jesus was saying. Was it not? What do you think, Waldo? Was it not what Jesus was saying? On this show, you get picked on. You got to be ready to go. Waldo, you're on. What do you think? Was that what he meant?
I think he meant that everything is okay with everybody.
That's right.
You live your own life,
Yeah.
and don't judge. Be the observer.
You'll be okay with everything once you become okay with everything.
It's hard, but that's life. That's what we are here for.
That's why she said, all I'm doing is unlearning. I'm unlearning. Karen has her hand up. Thank you, Waldo.
Thank you.
Karen, go ahead, dear.
Two things. First of all, I love the fact that she really did talk about the fact that the two parts of the brain were not fused. Because I've done that for so many years, it's not funny. It's the only reason you can do effective energy work is that you really you really understand there is a separation. But there's something I wanted to share, and it's a piece of music. It's called Inspiration Point. I don't know if any of you have heard about it or not. Elke has. I have used this so effectively with patients because it's not like any kind of music you've heard.
Is that the one that knocks you out?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is. I sent that to you, Rick.
It puts you in a whole different, it just takes you into this place. I don't know how to describe it, but it shuts.
You're doing pretty good when you start like that. Good.
Well, it does. It takes you into this place, and it literally, people get to focusing on the music, and it totally shuts down their left brain. And that's one reason why a lot of the energy work I do is so effective, because
You knock them out.
I really do. I really do. I've been doing it for years. And it just is, I don't know any other way. It was recorded in up from Sedona. But it's not like anything you've ever heard.
So you're saying you know of music. Thank you, Erica, for that, and that will transcend the right brain. Wonderful. And then, Michael, I'm thinking you're such a master here. Once you do what Karen says, and you're the hypnotist, once you get the left brain quieted, my hunch is, I got to tell my story before it's over. My hunch is the right brain knows where to take you.
So one of the ways in which people have done this through music is through what are called binaural beats. So basically, you have a frequency in this ear and a frequency in this ear, and you have headphones on. The mind can't handle two different frequencies, so it picks a frequency in the middle, and they get your brain to entrain with that by playing that for so long, and then they start to bring it down to get you out of the left brain, conscious, and into the right brain. And there's things on YouTube that you can get. There's other things. There's a lot to this, but some of them are targeted towards alpha, so that you're in a high learning state. Some of them are targeted all the way towards delta. Where
my question to you is, once the left brain is quieted, does the right brain intuitively know where to take you?
Not with everybody. No.
Explain.
I haven't noticed that with everybody, that they automatically know where to go. And when I start doing it years ago, when I start doing the audio, the binaural beats many years ago, I wasn't at that point yet where I've had any oneness experiences or anything of that. It just did get me out of that judgment state, that you're in a relaxed state, but I didn't notice anything more than that. In other words, it was just a relaxed state. But I've noticed that through really, like Baron Katie, when you were talking about Baron Katie, one of the things that she said, which is so important, is she learned that the world wasn't the problem. It was her thoughts about trying to change the world that was her problem.
Right.
That's what caused all of her stress. That's what caused all of her anxiety. That's what caused all of her issues, is her thoughts about changing anything in any situation in anyone's life, being responsible for that.
So if you
learn how to actually question those stressful thoughts, she found out that no, she wasn't responsible, and if she was able to help herself, then she could teach others how to do it too.
She has a website called The Work.
Yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal technique. It's the easiest thing that we could do because it works on how the mind works. For some strange reason, and I've never got an answer to this, when we have a stressful thought, the mind automatically believes it if we don't question it. Then it plays out a scenario around it. Then we react emotionally to the scenario. Then it plays another scenario around that. Then another scenario as we spiral downhill on something that could be meaningless, but that's how it works. Unless we question the thought and go, is that true? Well, can I prove that that's true? No, I can't. Stamp it false. When you stamp the thought false, here's what happens. You can still have that same thought 1,000 times. The mind will play no scenario around a false thought. It won't do anything with it. So you have no spiral downhill anymore. You basically have no emotion come with that thought anymore. It lost all of its weight in your life, and you stay in a place of peace. Because the more you learn how to question every single stressful thought about everything, which is what Byron Katie learned how to do, and that's what she teaches. And she's absolutely right. That's exactly what happens when we do that.
That's excellent, and that reminded me that I didn't finish my explanation about David Hawkins and having illnesses and laying down. You don't just go into la la land. By him having diabetes and him laying down, refusing to label it, what happens when you label it is you go, oh, there's a diabetes. Oh, what was that last time? Oh, that was bad. Did Charlie call? Oh, Charlie called. He sent a present. What was the present? Oh, I didn't like the present. What was that medication? Oh, I got to see the doctor. When's the next appointment? You get this whole world built up around your diabetes, which maintains it and makes it grow.
And it becomes
and makes it a big deal. So by not labeling it, I feel some discomfort energy in this area. And I would like to send a little healing to it and ask it to just relax. But I'm not going to label it as anything. All of a sudden, it stops maintaining its boundaries. Yes, Erica, thank you for waiting. Go ahead. Hold on. Let me get you unmuted.
Okay, I did it. Some of these ideas and conversation made me think of something I heard today. I was listening to some Vedic music while I was cleaning out my refrigerator. It's a very relaxing way to do an enormous job. And in between, the songs, the Swami who sponsored this singer from India to sing these Vedic numbers and explain everything about the rhythm and how many beats and all this kind of stuff. All of a sudden he says that when you sing these songs in repetition, that it takes you to this place where people try to get through years of meditation where you get in touch with God, and it's just by singing these words.
That's like a mantra, yeah.
And singing it to the music, perhaps, but he makes it sound like it's a little bit of a shortcut. But you have to do it every day,
Well, maybe you don't have to do it every day.
Or maybe not, but it's worth a try.
Yeah, so we have millions and millions of ways from the beginning of time, including staring at the fire is probably the number one thing, right? Staring at the fire, getting lost in your thoughts. Okay, we're out of time now.
I have one more thing I wanted to say. And that was reading recently about how people, should get out of depression and why they can't make up their mind about something. He said it all comes down to whether or not you are living your values with every single decision you make. And sometimes when you can't make up your mind, it's because inside your subconscious mind knows that this isn't the you that you really want to be, but we still continue doing things that we don't really respect because we're afraid to like totally live our values and be the person who we truly believe that we want to be.
What does that mean, to be the person that you want to be?
I mean, like really being that loving person, being that non-judgmental person, being that person
Is that person real?
No, I'm just saying that, like, are you watching the water? Are you driving that car? Are you doing the environmental things? Are you spending your money? Are you spending your energy and your time on things that really fit the values that you think you have? And if you don't, you are unhappy and you don't know why, and you can't make up your decisions about why you're not doing this and why you're stuck. And it's just basically because you're not living your true self.
So that rang true for you.
Huh?
So that one rang true for you.
Yeah, it sounded like it made total sense.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's a very Taurian type of thing to say also.
The soul and the personality have to be in congruence with each other. Otherwise, there's a conflict.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, as we wrap up for the evening, I want to thank everybody and all the people on YouTube that have tuned in. If you have, let me see here. If you would like to join us and you're busy watching on YouTube, if you'd like to join us on any Thursday, you can go to my website, which is starself.com/unplugged. That will take you to the link to join us at 8 o'clock live on Thursday nights, Eastern time. I wanted to leave you with this thought that I had. And I think one of the secrets to all this is it comes when you don't expect it. I told you this one, Michael, I think. Yeah, this was about 13 years ago. I had a headache. It wasn't too bad, and I was going to visit one of my buddies in Pittsburgh, and he is a powerful, powerful Reiki master. And he knelt before me, and I sat on a chair, and he touched my knees, and he touched my feet, and he started sending energy around. And at that time, I didn't poo-poo Reiki, but I didn't have any real reason to be impressed with it, and didn't have much experience. Okay. So I was there for a while, and I left, and I started to feel a little bit better. My headache started to dissolve, and I'm driving down the road, and out of nowhere, God entered my brain. And I realized, it was the only time I had an experience like this, I realized that all these years of study allowed me to be smart enough to figure out that was happening. Number two, sure, he didn't come in the way I thought he would. Came in the side door instead. But you've seen videos of an entity that comes in and takes over another entity. That was exactly what it was like. I'm driving, and here's Rick, and he's driving, and all of a sudden I feel this great big Rick takeover. And it's not some foreign weird thing. It's just this great big higher self. It's this great big huge Rick that you just don't even have any idea he's there. He comes in and he takes over, and he takes up every inch of myself. And the little Rick's over here saying, okay, I'm watching this, and this is far out. And I know what he's doing. And all of a sudden, I'm in bliss. I mean, everything around me looks beautiful. And it's just fabulous. And I know it's wonderful. And it's just what all the books talk about. And I know I'm not going to last a long time like this. So I told my girlfriend at the time every detail. I wanted her to remember it, so in case I forgot it. And it lasted about 3 days. And then what I call happened is then the weeds started coming back into the culverts, right? And then the stuff started, well, me and my problem and my car and my girl and my money and all that stuff, it came in and it dissipated. So I learned And I do believe that the Reiki master unblocked the crown chakra. I think that's what happened. And I'm sure we all have experiences differently, but I did learn that these experiences are there. I do want to remind you of a couple of things. The Reverend Kim is with us from Texas. She will be joining us. We do not have a date on her yet, Kim Wilson. And next week is the wonderful, powerful Todd Foster, the Reverend Todd Foster. I think I'm going to become a Reverend too. So I can say the Reverend. Todd, yeah, and John too, Reverend John. And let's all call each other Reverend. But the Reverend Todd Foster will be joining us. Todd's doing a lot of great stuff. He's very, very active in the Pittsburgh area for a long time with powerful Reiki. He has a Reiki center, and he does heavy-duty stuff. He's also the one I told you about that does a lot of house cleansing. He gets entities detached from you that are attached, and he does everything by a phenomenal use of the pendulum. And he'll show you how he does it. He's got like 15 different pieces of paper with different circles and where the pendulum goes. He'll tell you anything, like what you had for breakfast and who cooked it and whether they were in a good mood or not. Right, Mike? So he'll be with us next week, and he's going to take your questions. Virgo, very powerful, very honest, strong, hard worker, and I'm really looking forward to having him on the show. Thank you again. Tonight has been an effort to cross this bridge and at least understand it. I'm interested in knowing in the next few weeks how this filters down for you. But I think we are into a new era. I think there's a lot of new inventiveness that's going to come out of this. And the main thing, Reverend Kim, is it's another reminder that we're just one. You know, so when you get hung up about something somebody said and stuff, maybe tonight will help you a little bit to let it go. Because it just isn't worth hanging on to it. See y'all. Peace and groovy.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks again, Rick.
Good night. Thank you. Oh, I got to stay on now, end the meeting.